You are listening to the Mark Guzman Podcast Experience.
It's amazing. So being that you also travel a lot, do you have any tips for finding like the cheapest hotel, cheapest flight, or the cheapest packages? Because many people will go online and okay, it's very expensive, especially when it comes to flight. So what are your tips and tricks?
I have very good tips and tricks, but I always say you're not going to like them because the funny thing about them is that the number one way to travel for cheap is to have a flexible schedule. And I know for so many people that's unfortunately not the reality. But often for cheap deals, I'm flying out on like a Monday or a Tuesday and coming back, also a Monday or a Tuesday or a Thursday or a Friday, which I know, you're going to want to I know you're going to want to maximize weekends if you have, a regular 9-to-5 kind of job. But let's see. I'm on the flight deal. I subscribe to Pomelo Travel. Pomelo Travel. It's a subscription service. I think they have a free version, and then I got it during Black Friday, and it was $29 for a year's subscription. I don't know if I would do it again, but I think that they often have similar deals to the flight deal. But I also have found some really good ones, so I can't really complain that much. I am going back to Paris in September, and I paid $410 for a direct flight out of San Francisco. So that's like a pretty solid price to get to Europe, Yeah. I also check out the Points Guy, which is a blog online. He posts a ton of different kind of travel tips and credit card stuff. How to maximize points for travel there. I got a $290 round trip flight to Lima a couple years ago.
Wow.
And I was there for a while, and $290, I mean, you can barely fly across the US for that price.
Yeah,
so that was awesome. And then I also definitely maximized credit card points. So I flew to Amsterdam last year for credit card points, so it wouldn't have been cheap otherwise necessarily, but I spent $54 out of pocket.
And what was that blog called again?
The Points Guy. I can send you links so you can put stuff in the show notes if you want. But yeah, but I would say, the biggest thing is going to be flexible time and flexible destination. So if you have like a couple places in mind that you're interested in heading to, then it can be a lot easier to find something that's cool or that's cheap and cool.
Now, when you say a flexible schedule, are you talking about, okay, if I'm going to book something in May, maybe look at a few different dates in May, or, well, maybe May's not a good example because we're already in May, but let's say October, I'm looking at a few dates in October, or are you talking about flexibility like, hey, I'm available to go on a trip in 3 days, last minute deals?
Lucky for you, I'm talking about the first kind. So in terms of booking something, being able to go like shoulder season. So if you want to go anywhere in the middle of American summer when all the school kids are out, it's going to be more expensive. But Europe in May or September is a great time. It's not going to be too cold yet, or it's not going to still be too cold, but it's going to be cheaper everywhere. But yeah, so what I do is like if I hear that there is a deal to Barcelona, for example, I know that Oakland had new routes to Barcelona, and so they had some pretty solid deals because they were trying to get people on the new route. You can say, okay, I'm looking for something in May or something in September, and I will plug that into Google Flights. So Google has a really great flight search, and the reason I like it is that you put in the airport destinations, and then when you hit the dates, it will give you the lowest price available for that date. And so you'll see when it's green versus gray. And gray just means it's going to be kind of expensive or normal priced. Green is going to mean that you're going to see like a cheaper deal. And you can check stuff out, I think, as far away as 6 months out or 7 months out, or maybe I even want to say a year. I'm not quite sure on exactly how far, but you can really suss out. And you'll be able to see like flying on a Saturday morning or a Friday night is going to, sometimes be another 30% on top of that versus flying out on like a Monday or Tuesday.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So those last minute deals are not the best deals?
I find, I love the idea of last minute deals, but I just don't see them come through. I think that, they really prey on people that suddenly find out that they need to be somewhere. Or suddenly have time off and want to make use of that. But maybe for that, your best option is a road trip.
Yeah. Okay, so you currently live in Berkeley, is that correct?
I lived in Berkeley for 10 years, and 2 weeks ago I moved to Redwood City. So
Okay.
my partner works at Facebook and didn't want to be commuting, and so we switched cities.
Okay, so now you were born. Thank you for listening to this podcast short. For more podcast content, be sure to subscribe to all of our podcast channels on YouTube, iTunes, iHeartRadio, Spotify, Libsyn, Castbox, Podbean, and literally anywhere else you listen to podcasts.